Aloha, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome. My name is SprinkleBeard. We stream every day over at twitch.tv/SprinkleBeard. So if you're looking for interaction or to, have some chat with some other viewers, that's the best place to do it. We are going to dive right back into this. We are doing our champion review of every single champion. And right now we're in the comments and we are moving on to Senior Pikeman here. So, when it comes to Pikeman, we're going to look at these stats. Now, I've created a spreadsheet that is helping me better understand this. You guys have to let me know if you don't like it. But here we have Pikeman on line 3 here. So, HP, he's in a decent spot. He's a little bit above average. Attack, he's actually a little bit on the low side. However, he's a defensive champion, so this works out. Speaking of defense, he actually has the best defense out of all the commons. So, there's his little prop. Speed is 96. So again, baseline, I would like to be around 100. So this is a bit on the slower side. However, we're going to see that majority of the commons almost don't have, you can just look at this column right here. There's only like one other character that has above 100 speed. So with that being said, that's not a really big shocker. And then crit rate, crit damage, resistance, and accuracy, they stay the same even if you 6-star him. So he's a magical defensive champion. Let's see what his skill is like. Attacks one enemy. Has a 15% chance of placing a freeze debuff for 1 turn. So this is a hard CC skill, so it's actually a decent skill. 15% chance for a long time. This was the standard. For those who are a newer player, so this game's been out for about 2 years now, you're going to notice that 15 seems obnoxiously low. Almost all A1s now are like a 40 to 60% chance of something happening unless they attack multiple times. But this 15% chance does get down here an additional 35. So that would take this up to a 50% chance of freezing, which is actually not that bad, right? That means half the time he might freeze his target, and that would be great. Obviously, it doesn't work on bosses, so he's not necessarily the best. But he's got a decent HP pool for a common. He's got the best defense out of all the commons. And his speed isn't awful. When we get to the uncommons, there's a couple of uncommons that actually go far below the speed and then lower the entire average of the uncommons compared to the commons. So it's a really interesting piece of information to look through. But yeah, so even though he might not look the flashiest, Sunday, I know, babe. Even though he might not look the flashiest, if you dig this Pikeman, if you're doing a challenge run where you're trying to use commons, or if you need a decent defense champion, this could be the champion for you. A hard CC of a freeze is not bad. Do understand, though, that with a freeze, it stops the target from taking 1 turn. So as their active time meter, that yellow bar, right, fills up to full, they will lose their turn. However, with freeze, the reason that makes freeze a little less useful than stun is that stun, they take the full damage. Freeze, they get a 25% damage reduction. So if you feel like your characters aren't hitting as hard, or if you have a really big nuke skill that you're about to use, you might even wait for them to thaw out 1 turn, or you might wait for that buff to come back through. So pairing something like freeze with a defense down is a very, very useful thing. The direct counter for freeze would be weaken, right? There's the skill weaken, which is either a 15% or a 25% just raw damage increase. Just any damage that character, not any, but any attack that character takes will be increased by 15% or by 25%. So there is a soft counter in the game that if you're worried about freezing and don't want to have to deal with the minor buff you're giving the target as well, they still lose a turn though, which is huge on disrupting teams, right? Never underestimate the ability to freeze and cause things to desync on your enemy side, right? So if you freeze their support, and their support usually AoE buffs everybody, now it's a turn late. Or if that same support is a healer and you freeze them, that heal comes a turn too late. And if they're a healer and not a reviver, that's super detrimental. So there's a lot of times, understand, right? Think of all these moments, or as you're playing through the game, if you get off a freeze and it's at that critical point, really commit that to memory, because things like that will really help you understand the ins and outs of combat of this game. So guys, I hope you liked this little review. If you did, please hit the follow or the subscribe button down below. Hit that notification bell if you want to see your favorite champion coming up in the future. But of course, until that next time, ta-ta.